Welcome to episode 7 of MikedUp, Exploring the Hidden Game. I'm delighted to have Ian Macleod on the show tonight, head coach of Newcastle Eagles, to talk through the BBL Trophy final between the Newcastle Eagles and the Solent Kestrels. Hi Ian, how are you?
I'm good, thanks Michael, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Just a bit of background on Ian. So Ian was the head coach of Newcastle Eagles, as previously mentioned, and also was the lead assistant for the under-18s GB side. Now, before we start, Ian, if you wouldn't mind, just providing a bit of information on the background of this game. Quite an extraordinary game, and what happened in the lead up to this, if possible, please.
The very short answer is COVID-19. There's obviously this could be made into a movie. I've absolutely no doubt about that. If you combine Solent's run to the final, knocking off BBL teams, and coupled with their incredible NBL 1 season and the last season, with our story as well, because we had a pretty crazy year. Big changes, not just myself coming in, but first season in a brand new arena. There was so many different subplots to this game. We lose 4 players 24 hours before. 3 of which fly back home for, trying to beat the borders being closed for COVID. Another player, Kai Williams, who had a family illness and couldn't get to the game. It was just one thing after another, and then 2 players withdrew in CJ who hadn't played for 6 and 8 weeks. So there was so many subplots to this game. It wasn't just a game of basketball. It really was quite a crazy one,
For sure. I remember tuning in, knowing a bit of the backstory. I think this is going to be a cracker. So to have you on talking now through it, I really appreciate it. Thank you very much.
No problem at all.
Before we move in, I was just wondering if you could just share what are your emotions like heading into this.
I think if you go 3 or 4 days beforehand, as expected, first major final, quite anxious to get it started, nervous probably, but more anxious to get the game started and to get all the pre-game stuff out of the way. The worst thing about finals, which I've seen when I was assistant, is all the fluff that comes with it beforehand when you just want to get into game day. Mm-hmm. I think when we lost those guys and we knew we were going to be short-handed, and suddenly with, the bookies made us underdogs, that really relaxed a lot of us, to be honest. We were like, all right, cool, and I think I took a lot of pressure off. I thought the guys played quite loose, and so it was real big change in emotions in the days leading up.
Did you use that bookies news as motivation for the guys, or did you not bring it up?
No, hey, listen, if you need motivation to play in a final of this caliber, then we've got the wrong guys. Additional motivation wasn't something that we required, I don't think.
No, fair enough. So, game started. Now, can you just give a brief insight into your game plan heading into this?
Well, obviously, Solent, we knew more about Solent than about the average NBL 1 team, for the simple fact that they're not the average NBL 1 team. No. We'd seen what happened at Bristol. We saw Scarlett coming off the bench and just going crazy for 3. We knew what Ian Smith could do. We knew what, Travis Charles could do. The biggest thing, the overriding thing, is I didn't think they could score enough 2-point shots to beat us. That was the biggest thing with it. It was all about the interior, trying to cover up our small mismatches in places, but trying to really dominate where we could, which we felt was in and around the basket, whether driving to the basket, which Flex did an incredible job of, or pounding inside to the big guys. Okay. But that was kind of the overall thing for us.
Great. And if you could just talk through your matchups to start off with guys guarding who? With guys guarding certain players for Solent, was that a decision you made, or were the guys coming onto the floor calling them out themselves?
Oh, no. We always made that decision ahead of time. That's on the scout report in the week leading up. There was some which would say process of elimination. So Travis Charles, we were always going to put CG on him. In the first 3 shots that he shoots, you'll see why. The one big difference about NBL 1 and BBL is the size of the bigs. Travis is a great mid-range shooter, but we felt let's make him shoot consistently over a 7-footer. So CJ took him. Darius went with Dads. Really, we wanted the ball in Dads' hands. We wanted him to shoot the ball, so we helped off him just a little bit. You'll see Darius right just here. His main concentration is inside. It's not getting out to Dads.
Okay.
And obviously Fletcher on Smith. And then it was process of elimination from there, really, as to however they are matched up.
And was Glasgow's role straight away to guard Smith up the floor to try and deny the ball out?
Yeah. Sorry, I said Fletcher. I'm going to say Glasgow. So yeah, that's the one thing. One of the big things Rod brought to us is just that tenacity defensively. I mean, you can see now we've only got 6 senior guys. He's picking them up full court. Balls in Elliot's hands, perfect. So that was a big part of it. Just change the entry to their offenses a little bit if we can keep it out of his hands.
Okay, great. Just for the benefit of those watching, Ian's obviously going to talk about his players on first name basis, which is no problem at all. But just for those watching, Fletcher's number 44, Defoe's number 13, Gettis number 34, Glasgow's number 1, Lasker's 21, and Saunders is number 8. Okay, so just I was quite curious to see that you guys shot 24 free throws in this game. Were you looking to get to the hoop to try and get Solent into foul trouble, or is that just something that happened naturally?
I mean, not to necessarily get them into foul trouble. Part of our identity is getting the ball inside or attacking off the dribble. That was a big part of what we did all year. But if you take the 2 bigs, for example, CJ is actually a far better shooter than people give him credit for, but his advantage was at the rim. Darius is a good mid-range shooter. Charles is very much a jump shooter, at least initially. Mm-hmm. So the difference in foul shots, that was really always going to happen if we played to our normal style. So it wasn't a case of let's get to the free throw line. It was a case of let's get inside.
Okay. And were you encouraging the guys not to take much risk on offense? Because Solent were fantastic at converting turnovers, as what I've known from my experience playing against them and coaching against them. Did you try to tell the guys to be a bit more careful with their passing, or again just to play naturally?
Certainly not. I mean, I was asked this question before the game. By the way, CJ at 7 foot just went coast to coast. You said, I was asked before the game, what are you going to change in the game plan? And I said, well, you don't play for 8 months and then change the game plan. If we changed everything that we do and lost, then I couldn't have lived with that. If we try to do what we've consistently done and failed, then okay, fair enough. So it wasn't trying to be more careful, Fletcher's a type of guy. He averaged 9 assists in the BBL, 16 and 9 he averaged this year. I'm not telling him to be careful. Is a 31-year-old veteran guy who's multiple times MVP. I'm not telling him to be careful. I don't want that in his mind. I want him to be super aggressive, which is what he did anyway. The same with CJ. CJ had 7 assists, as a 7-footer. So it certainly wasn't be careful with the ball. We actually never talked about going away from our style. It just happened a little bit naturally because of tired legs, I think.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And what would you say your style is on offense? What did you want the guy? What would you say is the Newcastle style of play?
Run. Okay. Run fast.
Even with short-handed guys, you'd still wanted them. Yeah.
8 months into the season, like I say,
okay. Right.
I don't want that to change. So if you look at the numbers, 26% of our offenses last year were fast breaks.
Okay.
The second team, we led the league in that. The second team was 20%. So we fast break 6% of the time more than any other team. I remember one game in particular in Plymouth where they'd make a basket and they were still high-fiving and we'd be in there keeling the ball up. That was probably the best we did it for the first half of that game. But no, we're fast, we run, try to keep the ball on one side defensively and be disruptive. But yeah, it's about running for each other. It sounds quite simple, but if the faster you run, the easier everything else becomes.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I don't know if you remember this baseline out of bounds that Solent are about to run, but there was a bit of a breakdown. Are you able to talk?
Yeah. So we knew this was coming. If you just watch number 8 Saunders and number 1 Glasgow, they decide to switch and then they kind of back out of it. So it's going to be that back screen here. The switch doesn't really happen. So Will's in a good position to switch out to Smith. But I think Rod was probably thinking this is their main guy. I'm not going to let him get off, and probably didn't want to switch out. Okay. We just messed up the switch and they got a cheap back door. But an aggressive mistake because I think the heart was in the right place with that. We'll switch out and take away. We knew what they were doing, But yeah, these things happen, not to get too hung up on it.
Fair enough. We've talked about it a little bit already, but Solent have great court spacing. They do a fantastic job of spreading the floor. How do you look to counter that on defense?
I think probably the biggest thing with that is don't rely on the help too much. If you're playing defense to try and say, okay, I'm going to force them into the help, it's like, yeah, okay, but just corral them into an area of the court as opposed to saying, I want them to force them into the help. I think you've got to, your positioning has to be good with your man. You know, the less blow-bys and the less 1v1 breakdowns, the less rotation, you know, then suddenly the passes out become more difficult. And with the same thing, not over-rotating defensively. But guys not beaten, and Drew Lasker and Darius Defoe are very, very good at this. If a guy's not beaten, don't rotate. Don't go over there because you think he might be beaten. But see what's on the floor and rotate accordingly.
Okay, brilliant. On the next possession, and quite a few possessions, you run Gettis setting a lot of screens for Fletcher. What was the reason for that?
He's the best big in the league, and he's the best point guard in the league.
Okay.
Simple answer for that.
Okay.
Plus, if you keep calling him Geddes, he's not going to be happy. It's Geddes.
Oh, sorry, I'll say.
Got to put that out there. He's touchy about the name. You know? So yeah, it's just what they do. You know, Darius is a good passer as a big. You know, when he's in there at the 4 and having your 5 and 1 setting screens for each other or playing off each other, it's not easy to switch. So you're playing against a team like Solent. Have okay, Travis Charles in this lineup. Everyone else can switch.
Mm-hmm.
They're switching 1 through 4 definitely. So if your screens are 1 through 4 with 5, then the switch becomes more difficult. So it's just a bigger gradient if they do try and switch, really. Other than that, they're both very good at reading the floor. So why not put them in that position? You know.
And Charles drops a lot on his coverage. How did you want the guard to attack him?
Yeah, I mean, it's about getting ahead of steam. It's actually difficult. There's different types of drop. Everyone talks about just drop coverage. Well, no, there's high drop and there's deep drop, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Deep drop's actually quite difficult because what the deep drop does is the space is mid-range. And if the guard's fighting over and he's hounding you from behind with a high hand, the mid-range is extremely difficult. So it's about getting ahead of steam. It's about hopefully baiting that drop defender to take a step forward. If they're in drop and their last movement is towards the ball, you can really attack them.
Okay. Brilliant. What's this out of bounds you're running right now?
The one we just ran was we ran it a few times. We started it off in Surrey and CJ got 2 dunks. And basically, like I've just said, it's a 1-5 screen, which is difficult to switch. The only team that really handled it was Sheffield because Mike Tuck started guarding Fletch on the out. So he knew the switch was coming. He's switching onto the big. But yeah, we worked quite a few times. That's a horrendous call. That still irks me to this day. No way offensive foul.
Do you get caught up about that, or do you just move on quickly?
No, I tell you McDonald about it all the time.
Okay.
Move on, but also it's also about letting the referees know you've seen it. I'm not one for shouting and complaining to referees and being hung up, but I think just having dialogue is important.
Mm-hmm. And Lasker's in the game now. Just trying to rotate the guys. Is that why he's in?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, to be honest, the rotations were really Temba and Sauver were going to play if they absolutely needed to. Let's be honest here. Sauver's 17 at this point, and Temba's got his primary minutes at D1, NBL 1. So it's about keeping guys fresh. But Drew been out since we played Manchester at the turn of the year, so I didn't really want to start him and throw him in. I wanted him to see the pace of the game and then get into it. But yeah, he was always going to be key for us, his experience.
Mm-hmm. And Raymond Fletcher's had a fantastic start to the game. If you wouldn't mind just sharing a few words on what's it like been working with him over the years.
Ramon Fletcher again.
Sorry,
Ramon. Raymond. So Ramon, he's mentally incredible.
Okay.
You know, he's some of the things he's saying throughout the game where he's just the absolute definition of being locked in. You know, if you watch this game, every time Solent hit a big basket and the crowd get loud, Fletch scores.
Yeah,
he responds. So mentally, he was incredible for us in this game, and really, I wouldn't expect anything else from him. An absolute consummate professional.
Mhm. Could you just talk through this next offense? Is it what you're expecting of the guys? Are you happy with how it's looking so far?
So it's flow offense. It's flow offense, really. It's nothing too complicated. Particularly with this team, I didn't want to get caught up in X's and O's. This is excellent. There's a lot of stuff on the internet. You'll see a coach draws this up. No, we ran flow. We posted up Darius, and CJ was very patient and dived.
Yeah.
I didn't come off my tactics board. We said we moved the ball. Spacing was good. He took an opportunity. So yeah, just basic flow, really.
Mm-hmm.
We ran that a lot. We ran that pretty much all year.
Were you disappointed in Drew Lasker on that play, or you just move on from the foul on the 3-point shot?
Technically, if you watched it back, it's not a foul on a 3-point shot. It would be on the floor.
Okay.
Because Drew's foot lands on top of his foot.
Okay.
Now, as we all know, the shot is finished when the offensive player hits the floor.
Mm-hmm.
So by landing on top of his foot, it should actually be sideline out of bounds. But
Okay.
I think he only makes one, so we'll move on.
With these guys, I remember watching one of your practices for when you were involved in the GB team, and you were setting lots of targets for the guys to achieve on offense and defense. Is this something you have for the Newcastle players? Is it a way of measuring success?
I would like to. Realistically, Dave Forrester's my assistant, and Dave is a solicitor by trade, and he's multiple people in a week have their freedom in his hands, and he's not able to be a full-time assistant. So when Dave is there on game days, he's more of looking for the feel for the game of guys, do we need rotations, who's tired, who's not. I would like to do that, and next year I will. But realistically, need to recruit more support staff and more assistants. I got the job 7 days before guys flew in, so I was probably the guy who was looking at some of that stuff on the sideline while sort of managing it. So, yeah, it is something we'll do more of. I didn't do a lot of it this year, to be honest.
So what would you track for next year? What?
I really like deflections.
Okay.
I think deflections, it's, you can say get up in the pass, and then you can say, open stance, closed stance, get a hand across the face. You can say all that stuff, but if you say to a player, get deflections and be disruptive, they'll do it the way they know best, and then you can guide them from there. Okay. If you're getting high numbers of deflections, guys, that's something very visual for the guys. We're not getting enough deflections. I'm going to do this now. But deflections is a big one. We always track offensive rebounds because that was something that was part of our identity, and it wasn't great in this game, to be honest. It leads to our transition, which is a separate topic, but offensive rebounds is a big one as well. And the last one we talk about now and then is actually kills, which a kill is 3 stops in a row. Mm-hmm. So we're looking for kills. It's always good.
Right. Okay, it's coming into the end of quarter one. Are you happy with the scoreline? Are you happy with the way you're playing so far?
Yeah, we're doing the right things. I mean, I love the fact Travis Charles came out and shot 3 jump shots, which they're not really mid-range. They were a little bit longer than mid-range, and they were contested. And, that was the plan, make his 12, 15-footer and 18-footer and make him shoot over long, high hands. So pretty happy with that. We were fully aware we weren't going to walk in and go up 20. We'd seen that dance before with Solent earlier on in the cup, when maybe they were taken for granted. So yeah, pretty happy with how things are going. 1 or 2 adjustments, but yeah, solid start, I'd say.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. It's a fantastic opening quarter for the neutral, for sure.
Yeah, not bad at all.
So going into the second quarter, Fletcher's had great success already. How do you balance the success he's had with making sure the other guys are still involved?
I think it's on this level, it's kind of like until they prove they can stop something, we're not going to go away from it.
Okay.
One thing I really loved about this team is everyone understood and bought into their role. There was no surprises. There were guys who knew where they would contribute. They knew how they'd get their points. So it wasn't a case of having to appease people, and that's what I really liked about this team.
Mm-hmm. Do you ever feel you need to run something in order to get others involved, or are you relying on the experience of Fletcher as a point guard to to make sure that he's distributing the ball?
No, we ran a lot. We ran a lot, but we didn't run. We didn't run a lot of offense for offense's sake. So we ran a flow offense, but we had a lot of looks within it. You know, we had a lot of middle ball screen. We had some block to block type of stuff. We had some pin downs. There's a few things. You see it all in this game, really. So it's not about having 8 or 9 different players. It's about let's just subtly change, what we do, and just a little call about what we do is different. And I think and that's what I like that about flow offense, or spread pick and roll, whatever you want to call it. It allows people to make reads and it allows for different looks without tearing up the playbook and doing something entirely different. But so it's very flexible in what we do,
Okay. Something that Drew and I focused on when we were coaching against Solent was the screen coverages, and we spent a lot of time drilling that at practice. Did you have a certain approach for the screen coverages for Solent?
You mean defensively for us or attacking?
Yeah, sorry. How are you defending their screens?
We pretty much defended screens the same way the whole season. Actually, no, I lie. We made a change in about December. We would drop in the middle ball screen and we were icing the wings. And unless someone showed us that we need to change that drastically, we didn't really do it because, if you look at middle ball screen, not even middle ball screen, if you look at ball screen, 80% of scores come from the 2 guys involved, or 80% of shots come from the 2 guys involved in the ball screen. Now, with drop coverage especially, it takes away the 3-point shot. It opens up the mid-range, which is a difficult shot to shoot. And you generally, in drop coverage, don't get hurt on kick-out threes.
Okay.
So the BBL being a very guard-orientated league, drop coverage just ticked all the boxes for me. And I had this discussion with a few people over the season. Alan Keane was possibly the most critical in a good way. He's, why are you still in drop coverage? They scored. I said, because they scored 2 points. They had a contested 2-point shot. Yeah. We're all right with that. That's success for us. A contested mid-range 2 is success. It's not football. It's not going to be 2-0. And then the ice coverage just plays into our philosophy of keeping the ball on one side of the floor.
Okay. On that last free throw, you brought Saunders on the floor for Glasgow. It's a bit of a bigger lineup. Was that deliberate to have a bigger lineup, or again just rotating the guys through?
It really is. It really is just rotating the guys through. We didn't really have much of a choice to play with a big lineup. You got 6 guys, 6 senior guys. Sorry. CJ was off the floor a little bit. Darius off the floor a little bit, and Will's at the 4. But yeah, Will was a 3 for us. He came played on the wing. And he did an okay job of that, but it was just the lineups we had, over the second half of the season. He probably would have been a little bit more effective with some time at the 4 as well. But in this game, it really is. It's just needs must really.
And how did you manage the minutes of the guys in this extraordinary scenario? Was it? Some people say they have a script of when they're going to sub, or was it just you notice a guy's tired and you made that adjustment?
Yeah, I mean, I do usually have I have rotations in mind of where I want to go with them. To be honest, on my self-reflection at the end of the season, it's something that I thought I stuck a little bit too rigidly to. I don't do it for the full game. I probably do it for the first 10, 15 minutes. It's something I picked up from years ago, actually, from Jesse Sazant working with the England team. Script the first 15 minutes, get the guys in you want to get in, and how they play will define how much they play. But this game was really who needs a break, It just, again, needs must.
Okay. Solent did this a lot against us as well. They looked to their guards to post up other guards. Were you aware of that happening?
We knew it. Teams look to do it to Fletch anyway. But having Fletch and Rodney on the floor, of course, that's what they're going to do. Solent did it to us at home. I forget the date of the game, but not Solent. Sorry, Surrey. Surrey did it to us in the first quarter, and we were down, I think, 12 or 13 points in the first quarter. And then we made a couple of adjustments and we made it a strength, actually. We really did a good job of it. Of trapping.
How did you do that? Sorry, how did you make it?
We just sent a trap. We just sent a trap from the baseline. Sending a double team, that's not really the solution. The solution and in the detail is when you send that trap. You know, are you sending it? And you'll see this. It's the reason CJ had 7 assists in this game. If you're trapping late, they're going to have a chance to look over the inside shoulder, see you coming and maybe throw it, which is fine. Maybe a guy puts the ball on the floor and his head drops and you can do it then. Is it on the first dribble? Is it on the catch? You know, what we did when we did turn it around against Surrey was we trapped on the flight of the pass.
Okay.
So as it was going in there, we went almost immediately and we smothered the ball and we created some turnovers.
Mm-hmm. Sentence has had some, thank you for that. Sentence has had some early success. Do you feel I need to make a defensive adjustment on who's guarding him, or are you trusting the game plan?
No, Ian Smith had 4 points in the first half.
Okay.
If you'd have told me that before the game, I'd have paid money for that, you know, before the game. I know I'm fully aware of Elliot and what he could do. You know, I coached against him at juniors when he played at Leicester Warriors. And he was, as a junior, a flat-out shooter, like corner threes. He killed us a couple of times with that. So we knew what he could do. To be honest, and no disrespect to those guys, if Brendan, if Elliot and Dads, if they're the guys who are starting to go off, I'm all right with that, because Ian Smith and Charles, they're pretty used to putting up 30 and they understand the flow of that, where those guys maybe aren't used to doing that every week. Well, they might do. They beat some teams by 80 points, and maybe everyone gets 30. I don't know. But we definitely wanted to keep those guys quiet as opposed to worrying about what those 3 or 4 other guys were doing too much.
Okay, great. I wonder if you could just spend a few moments just talking about what it was like transitioning from assistant to the head coach with 7 days before the season began.
Yeah, I mean, it was difficult because normally you've got to run up to the season. You think, I'm going to do this, this, and this. Whereas we were kind of like, okay, this is the situation. This is the time we've got. These are the players we've got. Go. So I'm not going to say, I mean, these were my guys. They were, I was part of the recruitment anyway, but not as much a part of the recruitment. My role in recruitment was basically the eye test. Dave Forrester, he's like, he's like in the Matrix. He sees all the numbers, and all the details, and then I'm watching videos just to get the eye test, and that was kind of my role with recruitment, and we present them to Fab. Mm-hmm. So I was fully aware of who we were bringing in and what their strengths were. The most difficult part was getting everyone on board and just how to best showcase what we had. And I think it probably took us 3 or 4 months, on me, we can say me, it took me 3 or 4 months to figure out, okay, this is what we need from this team. This is how we need to play. Mm-hmm. And obviously CJ coming in mid-season, it changed a lot of things as well. But it was very different. A lot of relationships changed. I wasn't exclusively doing this job, which was the tough part. I was still quite involved in managing, not necessarily coaching EABL under the 19s, but I was very much managing that program and sort of making sure everything was correct with that. It's something I spent a long time building. So it was a lot of work. It really was. And you couple that, I literally just had our first child 2 months earlier. So crazy times, yeah.
You timed it well. Thank you for sharing information on that. That's great. So 5 minute 21 in the second, Solent call a timeout. Momentum's with you guys. What would your timeout look like in this scenario?
If the other team calls it, which you actually show, you do see it actually. If you did want to go back to it, but what you see is the players talking. Okay. I didn't call them out. I don't have anything to say, not immediately anyway. Mm-hmm. So I'll talk to Dave, the assistant. I'll let the players talk to each other. Keep a glance on them to make sure they're not just sitting there twiddling their thumbs, but they get some time to talk as well. And the first thing, a lot of the time I'll go over there. I don't have anything immediate or anything that can't wait for a few seconds. Mm-hmm. It's what's your thoughts, fellas? Mm-hmm. What does it feel like out there? Fletch, how's he defending that ball screen? Any opportunities there? And give them a chance to actually, they might have some solutions too. So it's kind of different if you don't call a timeout. It's a little bit more of that, whereas probably less of it if you've called the timeout for a reason. Pretty much people know why. Yeah.
Do you spend much of the time thinking, why have they called it, and then adjust accordingly?
I sometimes ask the guys that, guys, why did they call the timeout? Because we're beating them on the inside. All right, what's next?
Nice.
So I mean, it's not always that way. You know, I'm not gonna say it always is, um, but yeah, I wouldn't spend too much time with it. You know, but I do like making a couple of changes in our timeouts. If they've called one, let's change something up because they're probably talking about X, Y, and Z. So let's do A, B, and C. You know, just for a couple of possessions and then go back to it. You know.
Okay. I'm not sure if you remember, but you only scored 2 points for the rest of the quarter. Do you think that's something that Solent managed to restrict you from doing, or just think offense dried up a little bit?
There could be many things in this game. I mean, it could be stuff like court space, and it could be shot selection, which everyone has. It could be fatigue, and that is the thing in this game. It's judging how much fatigue had an effect without a knee-jerk reaction and saying it's all down to fatigue. Well, actually, no. Could we do some things a little bit better? But generally, shot selection and court spacing. And one of the big things in this game was our quality of screening. When our quality of screening was good, we were good.
Okay. How do you measure the quality of screening? What are you looking for?
So perfect example right there. Fletch was probably a beat late with the pass, but just patience, patience to receive the screen, and just good angles. Where do you want that defender to go? Do you want him to go underneath that screen so you can take advantage of it at a higher position? So I think patience is probably the one that people receiving the screen is probably where a lot of problems do tend to creep up. The most common, I would say.
Mm-hmm. Now, if you are struggling for scores, do you look to get your best two guys in a pick and roll on the wing, or you say, guys, we need to trust this offense; it will work out fine in the end?
There's an element of that, but realistically, if you just come up empty 3 offenses in a row with the same thing, how often do you do it for? Okay. This is why guys with experience and character are so important. There are times when it's like, Fletch, go get a score. Put you in a ball screen, go get a score. That's what he's there for, and that happens with other guys as well. There's one late in the game where we just needed a bucket, and we just, let's run Rodney off some screens because no one's keeping up with him.
Yeah.
Let's run Rodney off a couple of screens and he gets a big 3. So as well as, the tactics board and players, it's also the players. Go and do what you do well.
Mm-hmm. Do you ever try and exploit a mismatch? So you see Darius Defoe was guarded by Dads there. Let's slow the guys down. Let's just get them a look. Is that something you consider?
Yeah, we did. The third quarter, especially in this game, you see it. We really had big mismatches. I think it was third quarter. We didn't look at the high-low anywhere near enough. The first time we do it, Darius gets a wide open dunk. CJ throws it down there, and we probably spent a little bit too much time harping onto the fact that the high-low was open a lot. I think Wright was in the game and he was struggling with the ball screen coverage, and we were diving off it pretty well, and we were open. We just never actually looked for it. So yeah, 100%, it's something you look for. You're looking for those little margins all the way through.
Mm-hmm. Quite a lot of success of Solent already has been through their offensive transition. They had 24 fast break points. What did you want to see from the guys in with your defensive transition?
It's actually a step before that. It's the offensive rebound before the defensive transition. Okay.
Did you try the tag up philosophy? Was that your?
Yeah, we tag up. Yeah, we did that all year. We had mixed success with it. The guys, some guys really bought into it. The toughest one is always the point guards with that, because point guards are used to backpedaling to halfway the transition. They've been doing it for years, so it's tough. When you get someone like Drew Lasker, who's hands down the best rebounding guard I've ever seen. The game before this, he had 21 and 14, which is just insane from a 6'3" guard. Mm-hmm. So some guys easier than others. So it's how you rebound. If you get caught in 2 minds, or it's very passive on the offensive glass, that sometimes leads to easy outlet passes, and bad transition defense.
Okay, great. If you wouldn't mind, I know they're on the free throw line right now. If you could talk through your next offense, just identify what you're happy with, what you're not happy with, what adjustments you'd make on reflection when the ball comes down. And so you made a point there about Lasker's offensive rebound. He gets a huge one in overtime.
He does with the putback, yeah.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Yeah, so if you could just talk through this offense, sentences off the floor. Now Scarlett, obviously a fantastic shooters on the floor.
Yeah, he was
Underrated defender as well, actually. I thought at times.
He is. He's tough. I think this is maybe the one where he definitely fouls CG on a box out. He doesn't really. Just plays tough. Ball screen, reverse. So Darius opens the floor and it's into pin down. Fletch isn't quite patient enough on that one. So very basic. It's just a variation of off flow offense when a team is icing or sometimes switching. Too much with the switch. Basically, we open up the floor. The 4 dribbles recenters the basketball to open up the floor, and we create a double gap, and it's into pin down. And it's just a chance to read. Put Fletch and CJ again, that 1-5 screening situation, and just read, see where the advantage is.
Great post up from Darius there. I feel bad I haven't spoke about him yet. The impact of him in this game is phenomenal. 23 points, 11 rebounds, 3 assists. Great.
Listen, Michael, people have been forgetting to talk about Darius for his whole career.
He's in my second half notes.
I tell you, and I mean that entirely. How he has not been, how he is probably a bit harsh to say not recognised, but Jesus, what he's done for the club. And there's not, I can't think off the top of my head, a centre who stayed at one team from an 18-year-old to a vet like he is now and averaged what he's averaged, and a UK one at that. But yeah, huge for us, he was.
Okay, so end of the first half. It's about to be 46-45. Momentum is a little bit with Solent. What's your half-time discussion looking like?
We didn't want to change too much, to be honest. We wanted to tighten up on sentence, but it wasn't really. We didn't want to focus on him and let someone else go off. But what I was very conscious of is, I don't want to speak out of turn here, but Ian Smith plays for Solent for a reason. The same reason a lot of imports want to play in this league is to get to the next league. Ian Smith was not going to be happy with 4 points in the first half, and he's going to want to go off. He's going to want to say, I scored 20 points in a major final, and we knew that was coming. So we knew he was going to score. We just wanted to try and make him as inefficient as possible with that. Probably the same with Charles. Offensive rebounding was a big thing. We didn't get on the grass very well, but it's probably just because we're thinking about running 94 feet the other way with 6 guys as opposed to getting on the board. So again, no knee-jerk reactions. Just have knowledge that was coming. It was really strange actually because Elliot's minutes were really a bit reduced, I'd say, in the second half. Actually, it was quite strange. But yeah, keeping Smith quiet or at least making him work was the first one.
Okay, great. You mentioned about tightening up on sentence. What does that look like, right? In gameplay.
I think it starts with transition. It starts from your tag up. Have you got them covered on the tag? If so, it's then if the ball's thrown ahead to him, make him stop, make him go again with change of tempo. Don't let him go one speed. And after that, it's like any other sort of 2-3 should be. It's kick-outs and it's whatever else. Don't over-help off of him. You're not looking to not help, but don't over-help. So it's small adjustments as opposed to changing everything.
Okay. You make a signal right now of one finger up. Is that a call of a play you'd like to see?
Two fingers.
Okay, sorry.
Once. Everyone in the world.
Horn action or?
Yeah, everyone in the world runs this play. It's horn side. Stagger. I think you're not allowed to be a coach unless you've run this play at some point. I don't know. Everyone runs it. This and the Spanish screen. If you don't run those two things, it's like that's different. So yeah, just stagger for Will here, and then the 2 bigs just split after that. Actually, pretty good footwork to get the look, but it just doesn't pop.
Okay. And something else I thought that Solent might do, and I think they had reasonable success with it, is their focus was now on Fletch. He's had a fantastic first half. Is that something you say to the guys that, look, someone else now needs to step up, or do you reckon that just comes naturally?
I think it does. Especially when it's your point guard. If it's a guy like Fletch who, he's had games this year with 13, 14, 15 assists. He knows when he can't get to the rim. He knows when that's not there, and he's going to make that play. I don't need to necessarily draw something up. again, you asked the question earlier, if I've got CJ and Fletch, or I've got Fletch and Darius in the ball screen, you put them in a situation where they can be successful. They'll make the play. They'll find the solution. It doesn't necessarily need a huge change. They need realigned now and then and steered and guided, but it's not about changing things entirely, you know.
Okay. Perfect timing. If you wouldn't mind, if you could talk through this block, baseline out of bounds. I quite like it.
Let's see what we got
I've
here.
recorded it separately, so you seem to get success.
Let me see which one this is. It's 3. Is it 3? Oh, this is actually a blown coverage. This is bad. It wasn't bad.
Okay.
That's terrible play.
Okay.
We weren't patient enough. So CJ was supposed to be getting up to the free throw line to set a screen to get Will out to the wing, and then the next thing with Darius setting the back screen for CJ.
Mm-hmm.
It just didn't happen. The patience wasn't there that I spoke about earlier.
Okay.
And then Darius probably had the jump shot from the elbow. He just chose to mow somebody down instead, you know. So yeah, and then he goes Spanish. You do a pretty good job on their Spanish screen, I think.
Yeah, for sure. How do you look to guard that action?
We just switched the guards, and we either dropped or pushed the big, depending on what the big is. If it's a pick and pop guy, we were pushing, so he could stay connected for the next action. If it was someone who was a roller, we were in drop. So yeah, we usually do that. The one team that caught us, which caught everyone, to be honest, was Worcester. Worcester they ran it really well because they exited the low shooter very well to the wings, and did some different things. But yeah, we just switch it. But the key is just to have the ball pressure beforehand, so they're not setting the screen in an ideal place.
Mm-hmm.
If you can get the screen 4 or 5 feet behind your 3-point line, it's perfect.
Okay. Opening the second half, Darius Defoe is a lot more involved in the offense. Are you pleased to see this to start the second half?
Yeah, 100%. But he's had a breather. He's had a rest. He can get his breath back. That's probably the reason behind that one. There's also a comfort level there as well. Fletch and Darius in the ball screen. They've played together for so long. Mm-hmm. If Darius is moving well, he's carrying a hell of a lot of injuries in this game. That's another subplot to it as well. If he's moving well, Fletch knows how to get him the ball and knows his spots, little mid-rangers and things like that. So, I think it was just kind of hit the reset button for those two guys,
Mm-hmm. Okay, great. He's not on the floor at the moment, but I think he deserves a shout out. And you've already talked about him, Drew Lasker. I've watched a few games of yours this year, obviously before the injury, and I've fully not recognised as well as you the impact he has. If you could just share what's it like working with him.
He is hands down the most professional, dedicated. I'm not even going to say person I've ever worked with. He is incredible. Mm-hmm. How he looks after his body, how he makes the most of his talents, what he has, and how conscious he is of what he can and can't do. The career he had is incredible. I mean, he's 30. I'm going to say 37 at a guess. And like I say, his game before this was at Manchester, 21 points and 14 rebounds, and it's all due to desire. And just playing really tough. But any young player who wants to know how to handle themselves off the court, around the court, prepare themselves and look after their body, he's an incredible example for them.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you. And CJ as well. What was it like picking up him halfway through the season?
Well, I tried to sign him in July. Well, it wasn't me then. I was just heavily pushing to sign him in July. But he wanted to go to the G League and give that a shot. And he was at, I forget where he was at in the G League, off the top of my head. But yeah, so the G League didn't quite work out. And that's the tough thing with the G League. It's not like, okay, the league starts in September or it starts in October. The G League, the first round of releases kind of happened in November, mm-hmm. of like going from 15 to 12, obviously there's initial trials. So there's guys around late November who are coming out of G League, didn't quite make the final 12. I think, is it Thabit, the big fella who was in the NBA?
Yeah.
I think he was ahead of him on the roster. So it's difficult because the guys really have to make that decision. Do I hang around for the G League or do I sign with a European club? So he explored the G League, did quite well, from what we heard. He's very close to making that roster. But yeah, we knew he was available, and we decided to make the change, which was a tough time. It's not something you want to do, releasing players, but unbelievable impact, especially when I think CJ said he was something like from his senior year, from his final year at Rutgers, the 1 year he had there, he's something like 70 pounds lighter, which is just incredible, So, you could see the shape he's in, that was perfect for us. He didn't slow us down. You've got a 7-footer. People probably think you can't run. Well, we ran more than anyone else,
Brilliant. Thank you for that. With the Charles Smith pick and roll, it gave me a few sleepless nights thinking about how you guarded it, how you would guard it. Was it a case of pick your poison? You talked a little bit about Charles was taking mid-range jumpers just inside the 3-point line. Was that your idea of executing defensive perfect?
Not in the pick and roll, because he's not getting that look in the ball screen. He's not getting a mid-range jump shot on the ball screen. I don't think, anyway, I might be totally proved wrong by the video, but I don't think he short rolled and then went with jump shot a lot. It didn't kill us. It was more his movement and catching the ball in the mid-range. It was just about not letting Smith get the step backs or pull-ups. And I know it's not something he primarily looks for, but it's something he's capable of doing. And it kind of just feeds back into the game plan of I didn't think they could score enough twos to beat us. Mm-hmm. If you're getting beat consistently with heavily pressured mid-range pull-ups, you've got a hell of a player you're playing against.
Yeah.
And we'll deal with that another time, So you're not going to stop them every single time. It's about judging the overall success, not the success of each individual time.
Okay. All right, great. Thank you. You're now at 59-56. You go on an 18-8 run. What changed? How comes you were so successful in this period? You win the quarter 31-20.
Yeah, I think if we watch it through, watch who's shooting the ball and who has it in their hands. So Brendan just scored. I don't think Smith is as involved in this bit. So I think we're talking 4 months ago. I think, remember, if memory serves, you're going to now see other guys start to shoot the ball, other guys get touches. I might be wrong, or I might not be. This might not be this run.
Would you say stops were igniting your offense? Were you pleased that was occurring?
Yeah, definitely. It stops and then just a little bit smarter for us offensively. Smart, maybe coupled with aggression. But yeah, you could clearly see, when we dipped in this game offensively, it was down to court spacing, or it was down to maybe just fatigue defensively, not being just a little bit out of position, and those things just pick back up again, I think.
Okay, great. And CJ and Darius are really having success. On the last play, CJ had a little turnaround jump shot. Darius is at the free throw line now. You are clicking and firing at all cylinders at this point.
Yeah, definitely. And, one thing I've got to give Darius massive credit for is Darius didn't play the 4 before this season. Well, maybe a little bit last season with Victor Moses. But he really made that adjustment, and to do that so late on in his career, obviously he's got the jump shot and he's got the passing skills to do that. But yeah, see there, Charles there, that's an 18-footer with a hand up. We're all right with that.
Mm-hmm.
Again, it's a shot selection, which is kind of playing into it. But yeah, they really work together well. Their spacing's good. So yeah, happy at this point.
Mm-hmm. At any point in the game, were you concerned about your guys' foul count? Was that something all right, he's on a certain amount, I need to get him out of the game? Or was it only when it came to an issue you thought, I need to worry about this?
Yeah, there's certain things it's very difficult to control. Again, what I didn't want to do is I didn't want to have, excuse me, any desire for them to be passive in their mind. I didn't want to say don't foul. If I go to say to Darius and CJ, don't foul, stay in the game, they're going to become passive. So yeah, obviously you're aware of it when they're in trouble, but before that, it's kind of just managing rotations and timeouts as best you can, as opposed to making it a bigger issue than it needs to be.
Mm-hmm. And I think you were spot on about your point about shot selection. Throughout the year, Solent were shooting at 52%. I don't know if you remember their percentage in this game. They took 98 shots, made 40, and only had 40% for the game. So your game plan in this quarter certainly worked really well, which must have been pleasing to see.
Yeah, it was just about sticking with it. There's obvious times when they get some success. It was just about trying to stick with that game plan, you know. This was a tough one, you know. This time here, we let Trayvon go to the right, which we want to send him left at the top. But you know, we had good hands and we came away with it. Drew Lambert again on the offensive rebound. It's just right now it's starting to go well. Ian Smith hasn't had a look in a while. You know, Charles has only had a very difficult look, and this is kind of what we're looking for, you know.
Okay.
Obviously, tough back from sentence.
Yeah. With the post entry, what's the movement you want to see off the ball?
For us, if it's thrown into the paint, then just space the floor. Don't cut on top of anyone if they've got to get a deep catch position. That's the high-low I was just talking about there, by the way, that we didn't exploit. Just on that one there, the reason that one worked is we didn't have CJ in the first ball screen diving. We had him in the second ball screen lifting. So then we could take advantage of Darius's mismatch down low. But as far as post entry for us, if they're in the paint already, just space the floor. You can have a short dive, but don't dive on top of the basket. If they catch it outside, we changed throughout the year. You know, we talked about staggers, we talked about a dive from the top, but really what worked best is just space and make reads. Didn't want it to be too dictated, you know.
And I think you touched on it a little bit earlier. To have a guy like CJ with the passing, but he had 7 assists in this game. I remember talking to a few people. I can't believe Fletcher didn't get MVP. Some people were saying, you know. And then you look at this guy, had 21 points, 17 rebounds, and 7 assists.
Well, we're standing there after the game, you know, and they said MVP, and they said 21 points, so we looked at Fletch. And then they said, on these rebounds, so we looked at Darius. We're like, oh, wow. Then they said, in 7 assists. And we were like, wow, Fletch. And then CJ was kind of standing behind us all with a big grin on his face, you know. For a guy to have that stat line, and he wasn't inefficient. He didn't take 25 shots to get it. And especially after being out for 6 weeks, it really is an incredible performance.
With their post entry, did you zone up at all? Like CJ dropped pretty much automatically into under the key. Was that a matchups that you wanted to do?
Yeah, it was whoever was guarding Dads was going to basically drop off that. You know, he made 2, but we're all right with it. We'll live with it. So we didn't want to front the post from the bigs, but the guards we did want to front. We didn't do a great job of it. We did want to front with the guards, or at least 3/4, and then whoever was that help guy would just drop off. It could be off Dads. It could have been off Brendan as well. Just make sure we've got the big dropping in, you know.
Okay. And I wanted to show a few glimpses of your timeouts. You're up 10. Solent called it, and you seem to run something after this offense. The first possession. Can you remember what you were saying?
I like that one there. What it actually, you know, I'm saying you know, let the player-led timeouts, and there's me screaming at them. So that's interesting. I don't remember specifically, but it'll come to. I'm sure I can talk you through when it does happen.
And Solent put on a little bit of a full court press. Do you have a specific press break you like to have against a man, or to be fair, having like Fletch must be pretty. Just give him the ball, get out of the way.
Realistically, on the pro level, you put your press break in July because you're saying a good point guard. If it's a zone press, okay, maybe that's a little bit different, but a man press, they should be able to handle that realistically. This is a nice player from them. We probably need a little bit more pressure on Dads, and Fletch needed to engage a little bit more. So that's the difficult one. When you're helping off someone like we were with Dads there, it makes them a sort of an unchallenged passer sometimes. So it's about getting that mixture right between forcing them to take the shot, but you know, it puts a lot of pressure on your interior defense if you're helping off someone. Yeah,
Dad's at time this season did well distributing the ball. Had 8 assists in this game, and they looked at that quite a few times. That offense to get Brendan a look.
Yeah.
So, what are your thoughts right now? You're up 7, 1 minute 20 left. Did you see yourself being in this situation?
We knew it wasn't going to be a cakewalk. You'll see again here, Darius is setting the first screen, coming back to pin on for Rodney. Just talking about that offense there, and that should have went underneath the Darius. To be honest, he had sentence on his back, but no, we knew it wasn't. even when we went up 14 or 13, whatever it was, we knew we were going to come back. They had nothing to lose. It's a final. No one's got anything to lose. Everyone knew the season was done after this game, except maybe the BBL. They announced it a few weeks later. But we knew there was nothing more to play for. So, they had nothing to lose and they were going to come back and fight. Mm-hmm. So we knew we weren't going to walk away with it.
Mm-hmm. And with the end of shot clocks and the end of quarters, there's a point where you have the ball with 21 seconds left. Do you want the guys to run and set, or are you a coach that likes, all right, come on Fletch, come on Darius, let's get in a pick and roll?
It's a balance between the two. We didn't do a good job of it early in the season. We did a better job of it the season progressed. We did a very bad job of it against Glasgow early and Sheffield early when we had leads and let them slip, and we learned a lot from that. So yes, okay, I want to put Fletch in a pick and roll, of course, or we want to get CJ a look or whatever. But it's also about getting them in the correct place, and that's the coach's job. I want to get it in the right area of the floor and help you get to that point as the team. But then it's them, it's what they see and how they make the play.
Mm-hmm. For sure. Yeah. So this is the possession right now. Do you still want to run an offense with 20 seconds left, especially in a press?
Yeah, we want to take the last shot. It's not a press, really. I mean,
yeah, okay.
You'd have to be nuts to press Rodney and Fletch. They've got absolute jets. If you do press them, we'd probably get a layup with 10 seconds left, whether that's contested or not. But yeah, a bit of a ram screen here. So CJ gets Darius just to soften up sentence.
Yeah.
Or X4, I suppose it would be. So just a bit of a ram screen to free him up to delay the ball screen coverage, and that gives Fletch a little bit of a window there. Mm-hmm. Fletch does the rest really from there.
For sure. 77-65. I think that you were brilliant in that quarter. Did you feel you ever had to manage complacency with these guys?
Yes, but it's not complacency. It's always in the shadow of success. It always is. But it's not complacency like, oh, we're not going to stop running now, or, we're going to stop moving the ball. It's small things. Maybe you didn't quite set the angle of the screen. You didn't quite get contact. We weren't quite patient. It's very minute how it manifests itself. So it does creep in, but also, again, that combined with fatigue, it's very difficult to pinpoint which one it would be,
Mm-hmm. Did you ever consider playing that lineup without CJ on the floor and Darius guarding Charles a little bit more? Was that something you think about?
We did it late on, but it was more about CJ getting the rest because he kind of tweaks his ankle, his leg just a little bit, and I left it as late as I could to get him back in. The reason Darius is guarding Trayvon Wright is because he knows Trayvon Wright. Trayvon's been in the BBL, and we really wanted to do that. Combined with the fact that I wanted Charles to shoot over a high hand in CJ's 7 foot. He makes a tough shot there.
Yeah.
Wanted them consistently have to shoot over that.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it was a combination of those two things, really.
Okay, great, thank you. In the fourth, I touched on it a little bit earlier. You run a lot of the two stagger set right now. Is that a decision you made, or did the guys identify that as something that they had success from?
Yeah, I think that the initial one, because you thought it was the one finger earlier on, the one finger.
Sorry, mate. Yeah.
No, it's fine. It's just it came from me earlier on, but we've throughout the season we've gone to that if we get a little bit static, just because there's a lot of movement. The ball's popping around up top. It doesn't stay in one guy's hands. So it's just something we usually go to.
How would you guard it if you came up against it?
Low staggers. It's one of our philosophies is to play above the offense. So every defensive player should be, other than obviously the guy guarding the ball, play above the offense and force that low stagger or that second stagger or baseline double, whatever you want to call it. Force them to catch it in the corner on some sort of flare. Just play really, really high. Make sure the bigs have opened up so you can chase high and just force that flare pass. It's kind of a double, triple gap pass sometimes and very difficult.
Okay. Now, Solent start on a 7-0 run. You're quick to use a timeout. Is that to stop their momentum?
Yeah, just it's always a hot topic, isn't it? When to use the timeout? Is it to try and claw it back after something's gone wrong, or to try and head it off? Before it gets to that point. See, that would make me call a timeout. Dad's in transition for 3. I'm all right with that. Okay, we want a hand up, yes. If that's in scout report, then that maybe would force the timeout. If it's Smith blown ball screen coverage, or it's Charles blown, if they've really blown the scout report, then maybe that would be a timeout at that point if it was in the run.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And you talked about that double stagger being a bit of success using it when you need success. At the moment, they're on a 10-0 run. Is it? Do you guys run it again? Let's try it again, or are you thinking, all right, I need to now implement something that will work for us?
Yeah, I mean, we went there with the pin down off of ball reversal out of flow, so that's something else. It's just the simple stuff. I mean, the low stagger, with the double stagger, it's a lot of movement, but it's pretty simple. It's just a bit of movement. I don't want to. If we need a score, I don't want to run something with 20 ball reversals and 4 pick and rolls and whatever else kind of crazy actions. Because if you're struggling, then why make it super complicated? That's something where guys can just run off a few screens. It's quite simple,
Mm-hmm. And so Solent packed
same thing
really well.
Yeah, they did, which is why important Rodney hits this.
Yeah, I was wondering if you'd remember. It's a massive shot.
Oh yeah, big time. Yeah, just get him running that baseline, and it was a tough shot as well. It was by no means wide open.
What was it like working with him this year?
He's a great guy. It was a very difficult situation. He practiced all year, and we only got 7 games because of the passport situation, or 7 BBL games, league games. But no, great guy, good professional. Hard-nosed player. Keeps himself in great shape. Mm-hmm. But yeah, as you expect with smaller guards, smaller guards have to be really diligent with their approach, because they've usually got a chip on their shoulder and they're disadvantaged. So that's what you get.
Okay. And opening this quarter, they're still having quite a lot of success from offensive rebound. As a coach, do you feel there's an adjustment that you can make tactically, or a change of matchup that can help with that, or is that just down to the guys' determination to get that board?
Yeah, I mean, if one guy is killing you on offensive rebounding, then maybe you've got to switch things up. So that's what teams do to us. If CJ's got 5 or 6 offensive rebounds, they say, okay, we'll double him on the glass or something like that. With us, it wasn't an effort thing. It was probably a legs thing, an awareness thing. When you get tired, the first thing that goes is decision making. Like, your decision making goes before your legs do. Mm-hmm. So it's probably, we're just not locating and hitting guys on the rebounds, and it's, it wasn't a consistent problem for us throughout the season. It's just we were probably one of the better rebounding teams in the league. Mm-hmm. Offensively, top 1 or 2, I think. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it just crept in.
Okay. Are you a coach that takes a lot of the review of the game with the stats? Because something I noticed when I read back the stats, Solent took 15 more shots than you. Is that something you say to the guys, this isn't acceptable, or is that just, that was how the game happened?
No, I mean, to be honest, it's a bit of a fallacy, all that stuff. I mean,
okay,
they took 15 more shots, but if you do the maths, what did we take? 83 shot attempts?
Yeah, that's it.
24 foul shots, I believe.
Correct, yeah.
So if you assume they were 2s, what's that, 95? And I think we had 10 or 11 turnovers. So we had 105, 106 possessions. Yeah. And if I remember rightly, they had 108 or 109 possessions. We went to the foul line. That's the difference. They only had 10 foul shots, I think, and we had 24. Yeah. So there's, if you assume they're all 2s, there's 12 times we were fouled on a field goal attempt. Uh-huh. So it doesn't show up in the attempted field goal column. So that calculation I'm talking about there, it's a simpler version of pace.
Okay.
If you add those things together, a number of shots taken, half your free throws, just because it's probably a 2, and then your number of turnovers, that's how many chances you had to score the basketball. So we were still high with that. We tried to get over 100 every game anyway.
Okay.
Even with the reduced lineup, we were quite high,
Mm-hmm. How are you feeling right now? You're up 14 at one point. You're now up 3. How much do you consider your emotions on the sideline? Do you feel I just try and be myself, or do you try to be calm?
Yeah, I'm not one for jumping up and down. Sometimes it's kind of perceived as not passive isn't the right word, but if things aren't going well, I won't start screaming at a ref. It ain't the ref's fault. There's a solution to be made there. If you're jumping up and down on the sidelines, turning around and screaming at the bench guys who haven't done anything, how can you possibly manage the game the way you should be managing it? There's a problem. Yeah, we know it is. We're a bit tired. Our feet aren't where they're supposed to be. Ball screen coverage in that situation. It's about how you can support the guys on court at this point. There's a time for that. They need to see. We missed the high low again. This is driving me nuts even now. The time for that. We just missed Darius wide open and we sort of contested 20-footer. The time for all that stuff, but I think you got to have your head in the game.
Mm-hmm. Do you think that timeout maybe should have come earlier, before they took the lead, or did you feel?
Maybe, but
do you like keeping 2 for the end game?
It's my theories kind of changed a little bit through the season. I was always a big fan of letting the players play through problems and figure stuff out. But I kind of changed throughout the season a little bit and was a little bit quicker with timeouts. In this situation, I did want to keep 2 just because I knew I didn't have 4 guys on the bench I could rotate. Okay. So that timeout was as much as a break just to refresh guys and give them a break in the truest sense of the word, as opposed to anything tactical, and just small adjustments. So I wanted to keep them really just so we didn't have to play. Like, if we couldn't call a timeout from now to the end of the game, that would be a big issue because we're going to be tired.
And your offense right now is, I can't remember if you remember it, but it's fantastic. You get the score.
Is this Darius with the jump shot? Oh, yeah, this is a nice one. So that's the 1-5 screen again because there's no CJ. They can't switch it. And this is brilliant. That's their decision. That could be a flat ball screen, or that could just be then Fletch throw it in there. It depends what they see in that one. Okay. So that little give and go or that get situation there was that was their read out of horns, whatever we called it. Yeah.
So did you draw that up in the timeout or?
Yeah, so it's like I was saying before, I drew up that we were going to run that play and we were going to look for that specific action on that area of the court. Fletch decided and Darius made the read that the ball screen wasn't going to work, so they went with the little get action.
Okay. That's brilliant. You've got 2 guys like that are just...
Oh, they're excellent at it. There's a point in this game, I forget when it is, but Darius comes out to set the ball screen for Fletch. And just a second before he does, he gives him a tiny little signal next to his down low next to his leg and just flips the ball screen at the last second, and it just blows the whole coverage. And it's just them just playing together and having experience,
And there's your guy, Drew Lasker. What a massive charge!
Unbelievable. This is incredible. Putting his body on the line, knew what he was doing as well. That getting outside the charge arc, getting his feet set, incredible. Yeah.
An outcome sentence. I couldn't believe
it. Yeah. I don't know why, but I wasn't disappointed when that happened.
It's a fantastic ending to the game. What can you remember your emotions at this time?
At this time, I don't think I was getting too crazy with it, to be honest. Okay. It's you look at this team and you look at guys and you look at the experience there. That gives you confidence, when you see what these guys have been through and done themselves, it does give you a lot of confidence. So it's not my job to get hyped up at this point. There's 2 minutes left in the game. It's about game management, doing the right things. This drove me nuts too. So we didn't help off when we should have done. There was no front. So that's a little bit too easy.
Okay. And CJ's back in the game.
So I've just at this point I've just been trying to really hold him out for as long as I can give him a break, and then get him back in, and with no intention of bringing him out again. Just make sure he was fully ready to go.
And what's that signal? Is that to space the floor?
We've got 2 calls called open and closed, and this is I believe this is open.
Okay.
So yeah, it's just
Is it for that?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's 1-5. A lot of our stuff is 1-5, or fake 1-5, and look at the 3-man side. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it was just couldn't shout loud enough at that point, maybe.
Mm-hmm. some of the plays from both teams towards the end were huge. It really was a great spectacle.
I think we were very close to blowing it open. There was a few times,
yeah,
a little bit earlier, where we just went miss. But at the same time, they could see the same thing because it came off of stops. There was a lot of stops and then misses, and it could have probably went either way. But I think there's a shock lock violation here, I believe.
Yeah.
This wasn't.
You remember the stats and everything so well.
Yeah, I was surprised that did actually, because it's a good 3 months ago. Oh, this wasn't the shot clock, it's later on.
Yeah, it is later on.
Even be overtime, actually, I'm not sure. Some things just stick out in your mind,
Yeah. They've gone with Trayvon, the experience of Trayvon. And,
of course, no doubt about it. And it pays off as well, although we kind of blow the coverage.
Yeah, he was fantastic when he was with us for a few months.
Different he's inside, outside, he's got a bit of everything,
And that turnaround jump shot he hits off the top right-hand corner of the backboard is just ridiculous. So up 20 seconds left. What are you thinking? Is it get Fletcher the ball?
Yeah, that, and then you got to think about who you want in the hands for foul shots. We didn't do a good job of that, actually. One of the last plays. But yeah, it's about get Fletcher the ball. We always say, we don't want the ball to be the highest thing up the court. We want a pressure release pass behind it if possible as well, just in case of any turnover or anything like that. But it's just knowing the fouls are coming. Squeeze the basketball, but take the opportunities if they're there. Like, this wasn't good. This wasn't good at all. We didn't get into what we wanted to do. We're very late getting to our spots. We threw it into CJ. We got a little bit lucky with that, because that I think it's just, again, it's definitely just fatigue.
Mm-hmm. So do you have a certain end game set you want the guys to get in this scenario?
Sideline out of bounds, yeah, we do, yeah. So this wasn't it. This certainly wasn't it. We're just a bit probably discombobulated is the word right now.
Mm-hmm. Do you like the huddle? Do you encourage the huddle?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, what's the point in having all that experience on the court and not using those guys? Like Darius there was kind of instructing what to do and stuff. And I know CJ beat himself up because I think he split these ones here.
Yeah.
I believe he did anyway. But yeah, Darius, you can see Darius now, and I'm screaming the same thing from the sideline. It's stand next to the man you're guarding.
Okay.
But what you don't want to do is now, if you have free throws offensively, you make or miss the free throw, and then you turn around, where's my guy? So, stand next to the guy you're guarding. Doesn't matter where you are lined up, but you're matched up already,
Okay. And what do you think went wrong with this possession?
He's not going to like it, but I think Fletcher had to drop out. He had to help the help.
Okay.
And I would like to see a little bit of a stunt as opposed to the help, was possibly a bit of overhelp.
And what did you want out of this final possession? What
it's a bit of misdirection. So Rodney Glasgow is going to be some misdirection, and we're gonna throw it into D in the high post, or Fletch up top. Actually, we didn't talk about it, but Fletch is wide open on a backdoor, like absolutely wide open. I don't run many backdoor players for Fletch, certainly not lobbing it over the top anyway. We do throw some, if a guy's up in a passing lane, but just our timing was off a little bit. They did a decent job. They played above Darius, you'll see on a high post, I think, if this is the one I'm thinking of.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think the last couple of minutes we're pretty much given everything we've got. There's not a lot left in there.
Mm-hmm. So is this the right setup? The guys going into the right spots right now?
Yeah, they're in the right spots there. So Rodney Glasgow is going to run baseline. CJ is in the wrong place, but they're telling him where to go. Darius there. So Rodney Glasgow is just misdirection. He's going to come all the way through off CJ.
Okay. Is CJ a bit far out, or is he?
No, he starts corner. He's supposed to then come down to the block and not occupy people. So that occupies the bigs down low. You see, they're not even looking at the ball. So it wasn't, we weren't, by no means did we look for that one ideally. We ran some other stuff in different games. Maybe we could have wanted something else, but, it's all, you could always double guess yourself,
Mm-hmm. Do you have a game plan change at all heading into overtime? Considering you also only, like the guys only scored 10 points in that quarter, do you think I need to think of something here, or trust what's worked all year?
Yeah, I mean, you've got to do what worked all year. I think the big thing we talked about, which is ball screen defense, because Travis Charles running the ball screen has his major strengths, but when Trayvon Wright's in there, it's very different. But you see, we open the floor well here. This is much better positioning and spacing. And if CJ isn't out for 6 weeks, that's a dunk, and that's a really big dunk, and it's a statement. But he pads his stats, gets the extra rebound, and puts it in. So we just talked about spacing on ball screen defense and spacing. Again, there, Smith, tough pull up too. If that's what people are getting off of our ball screen defense, I'm all right with that.
Yeah, I think Lasker comes up with a big play right now.
It's just the offensive rebound, is it?
I believe so.
Spacing's decent. It's good spacing again. Probably the ball gets a little bit sticky, but that's just, you got two guys there getting out jumped by a 37-year-old who just has a sheer will to go and get the basketball. It's brilliant.
Mm-hmm. But you were happy with the spacing and the way the ball was moving?
The spacing was good. The point of attack was good. The ball probably got a little bit sticky. I think Rod on the second bounce probably need to just get it out of his hands and open up the other side of the floor. Mm-hmm. But yeah, you probably like the matchup he had or the closeout situation. I'm not going to double guess him for that.
Mm-hmm. With fatigue and a short rotation, your pace style, did you still want to push it in this game, or were you guys, we need to run a bit longer offenses now?
I mean, obviously, there's times when the clock's winding down, you want to lose some clock, you want to use some clock, but no, I knew if I went in pre-game and said we're going to slow it down, we were guaranteed to be slow. If I went in and just said, look, we'll play our normal style, I didn't even consider going away from it, we would naturally slow down anyway. So there's no point. There's no point in saying we're going to change all this stuff, Mm-hmm. So yeah, and plus they're a pretty quick team, they're a good transition team themselves. So it's tough to run a team off the floor. They didn't really have any big plodding players or anything like that. So
that drop coverage worked well then with CJ.
It did, yeah. So you'll know our spacing is good when there's a big distance between the 4 and the 5. So right there, there's 25 feet between Darius and CJ. And when CJ does what he just did there, the dribble out from the post, I call it a dribble out. He's really good at that. It opens up the space on the floor well. Mm-hmm. So that's when that's the signs our spacing's pretty good.
Mm-hmm. Still no sentence.
Yeah. Forrester was Dave Forrester's in a suit there. He's on the sideline. I think he was saying to me, "Where's sentence? There's no sentence." He's on the bench. I'm like, "That's fine. Sentence can stay there, and Scarlett can stay there too.
Just worry about us."
Yeah.
Do you know? Are you aware of their baseline out of bounds?
We knew it was. I think this is Smith weak side. Is this one? Yeah. Screen, brush screening it off weak side. We knew it. Yeah, we knew it. Again, it's another one. Contested mid-range jump shot. I know that's his go-to, but it's a tough, again, all due respect, but in NBL 1, your big guys are, you're shooting over 6'6" guys, 6'7" guys. So we were happy with that. And I know he made some because he's a great player. He made some, but again, I just felt like that shot was a good one for us, over the course of the game.
Yeah, he played the percentage as well, for sure. Is this flow a little? Into your flow?
Yeah, this is flow just in the middle ball screen. We probably should have thrown that one into to CJ and then have Fletch back cut off of it, but that's fine. Mm-hmm. Get a decent look. You get a decent look from it. It's not a surprise when we go ball screen with CJ and Fletch. That's a great closeout. Absolutely great closeout.
Tough man.
Closeout to his right, yeah, and he makes a tough shot as well.
How do you teach the closeout? So you're a stutter guy, you're jumping there?
I think people are too hung up about it. I just saw a tweet the other day saying that stuttering is dead.
Yeah, I saw that. That's why
stuttering's dead. Like the human body's changed that much. We can't stutter our feet anymore. I think everyone's different, Like if you look Fletch defensively, technically, he won't mind me saying this. Technically, he's not the most textbook, but he decelerates so well. Okay. That I'm not teaching Darius and Fletch to close out the same, not that I have to teach them, I'm not asking them to close out the same, and it's the same with juniors as well. arrive there on time and make sure you're broken down. And if okay, you guide them if they're struggling with it, but everyone's different athletically, aren't they? There's the shot clock violation.
It really is a fantastic game. What's it like watching it back?
I've only watched it back 3 or 4 times, but I didn't watch it back for the first month, definitely. It's just so crazy, everything that happened post this. It took a while to watch it back, to be honest.
Is it emotional at all? Considering
it is emotional. There's lots of subplots to it.
They mean a lot to you?
Yeah, it did. There's lots of different things to it, everything from the obvious stuff from first major final. The day it's my parents' wedding anniversary and they're in the front row right behind the bench. There's a huge amount to it. So yeah, there was a lot there. And it meant so much to the guys as well, When we won the semi-final, I went back into the locker room afterwards when we beat Cheshire. And the guys, they sprayed the water and stuff like that. And some people took that as, I think one of the assistant coaches from Solent actually tweeted about it, which helped. And he said, we're moving like we've already won it. And I was like, well, no, it just really means a lot to us. We haven't won anything. We hadn't been in a final, I don't think, for 2 years.
Yeah.
And it meant just a lot to those guys, So there was a lot of different reasons.
That was a great sideline out of bounds there.
Yeah, we run that one. That's a nice one. Just an Iverson to get Fletch open and clear it out. But there's a little bit of misdirection from that as well because Darius is wide open and that's his shot, that 15-footer.
What's your dialogue on the sideline right now with the guy? Are you just pointing out small bits they need to think about, or? Usually
I'm just talking through the scout report. Send it left, keep it on one side, or just little things, and you don't even know if they can hear you. But it's small things. It's kind of hints and tips and remembering as opposed to micromanaging. I think.
Mm-hmm.
I suppose the guys may tell you differently. So again, there, Darius two mid-range jump shots, which will take that look every time, off good ball movements. They just haven't dropped.
And what's your thoughts right now? It's their ball. It's their chance to win it.
Yeah, I knew the foul situation. We're screaming foul, foul, foul. We were just waiting. I loved the fact he pulled it right back out, and I knew it was going to be about. I was looking at the clock, and I'm thinking it's going to be 3 or 4 seconds only here. So we knew we were going to foul him as soon as he came off the ball screen.
Okay.
And send them to the sideline, which is perfect. It wasn't end line either.
And can you remember what you're drawing up here?
Yeah, so we talked about X switching. Whoever was guarding the inbound was going to X switch, but we would only X switch onto Ian Smith. So, if Sentence or whoever, doesn't matter, whoever came off the first action and came high, we wouldn't X switch onto them. We would just chase them and play them normally. But if Smith came off, we were going to X switch.
Okay.
And then we just talked about slips, really. And the last thing was just no alley-oop, no lob play.
Mm-hmm. And could you just talk through it as it's playing in front of you right now?
Yeah, I can't do it if I remember it. I think we do X-switch reasonably well. Smith goes really high, and it's a good bit of misdirection, and Trayvon steps to the ball. So it's like a scissor cut up top, and then straight into Trayvon. We almost stole it. Rodney Glasgow is so close to stealing it. And then Darius is all over that. One of Darius's not weaknesses. He drops it sometimes as he plays with his hands down now and then. But he was all over that with hands up. And this is definitely wrong because the buzzer goes with it's a whistle buzzer. It's like 0.1 of a second left. Not wrong, sorry, but it's pretty much game over.
Yeah, quite nice for Defoe to be on the line though.
It was, yeah. And it actually, we're talking, and I think Fletcher's talking. I'm asking there, is there 0.3 left? Because if there's 0.3 or below, there's no catch and shoot opportunity. I think I was talking to Fletch or CJ. We said, should he miss it? Should he make the first and miss it? And Darius is turning around, should I miss it? Should I make it? I said, Darius, go make both. Just make it. Forrester's there as well. Should we miss this? Should we not miss it? How long's left? Can they get a shot off? That's what I'm saying to Ian Macleod now. They cannot get a catch and shoot. That's correct, yes. So they needed a full court tip because they had no timeout.
Okay.
So yeah, it was like, just try and make both. We'll be all right.
And The reactions of the guys at the end, we talked a little bit about the emotion. It seemed to really mean a lot to everyone involved. I think Eddie Matthews is sitting next to you on the bench. Even he's celebrating like it was fantastic.
Eddie looked like he was on day release, and Dave was looking after him till his next court appearance. First time he's wore a suit in a while. But yeah, it did. It meant a lot to everyone. Just so much, losing those guys beforehand, guys coming back from injury, just absolutely everything. There was so many subplots to it. And Eddie's a guy, I coached Eddie when he was 14 years old. He's come right the way through the pathway. So you can see what it means to everyone there.
Fantastic.
Yeah. Eric Wilson.
He's been everyone.
Forever, Yeah. Hey, why not? You know what? My pet peeve with the BBL is maybe two coaches who will go and shake your hand after the game, like immediately. Buzzer goes, I go shake the hand of the coach, and then you go and do whatever. There's like two coaches who do it. I didn't really do it here. It's time to celebrate. And then I looked over on the coaches, and they weren't interested anyway. Understandable because of the situation. So no, it's time to celebrate.
Just one final two thing. What would you say? If there's one thing you could change, how could it be even better this game? Where was something that you felt, if you had another game, obviously COVID stopped that, what would you say, we need to work on as a result of this game?
I'd probably like the 45 points of player who weren't there. That would be nice. That would help. The easy thing for all of this is and people talk about it a lot, ball screen defense, okay, yeah, but we could have been better, but there's more of a route for that. Probably just positioning, and it's a small thing, being 2 steps better positioning or half a step better positioning, a little bit further over here and there. There was nothing in this game that kind of reared its head. It was pretty much, we were very aware of what we were and what we had to get better at. In fact, actually, I'd say maybe the high-low within our motion offense, we could have looked at it a lot more. It was something we didn't do a great job all year, to be honest. We missed a few opportunities. So maybe that. The
reaction of the crowd is fantastic. The final thing I just want to look, what are you most proud of? When you look back on this game, you look back and think the guys did well there. What would you say it is?
The determination of the players. We sat down with the players maybe a week before this. We were in practice, and all the players, they started to get tweets and stuff. It was after practice, I think, maybe, or before, I forget. But, the tweets are coming through. The NBA is cancelled. The NCAA is cancelled. Italy have sent guys home. Slovakia's closed. It started to come through, and the guys were like, "Is this going to happen?" And just the determination and professionalism of those guys to say, "Nah, we're going to prepare for this. Whatever, we don't care what happens. If the BBL say it's not happening, we're going to make sure we're prepared." Like the stuff. Take CJ for instance. CJ, we were talking about whether or not we should all be on the team bus together, for COVID reasons and stuff. And so CJ drove up. Someone drove there to get there a little bit earlier. Just Fletch, just guiding the guys and keeping them focused all week. And that's the same with Darius and Drew. Just their determination, their professionalism. It would be very, very easy for them to just check out a little bit and have an excuse. But they really dug in, and they gave absolutely everything they had. And you can't really ask for any more. It's a bit of a cliche, but for any more, and again, it's not their lungs and it's not their legs. They ran. It was tough. It was mentally how checked in they were. I thought that was a real testament to them as people, not just players.
Mm-hmm. And what a great way to finish. And I can't ask for much more of yourself. That was fantastic. It was a fantastic final to watch, and to watch it back with you right now and talk it through. I know I really appreciate it, and I know others will too. So thank you very much, Ian. Really appreciate it. Thank you.
No problem at all. Thanks a lot for having us on, mate.